I never would be the pastor to do this, but we're going to take two offerings today. Because it's supposed to happen later, but there was a mixed signal. But it's all good. So don't think later on that we're trying to get double your money. That's not what we're about. But we are going to do this again in just a little while, in 30 minutes. Everybody sit down. We're good. Number two, real quick. Last Sunday, everybody remember where you were last Sunday? I'll give you a hint. It probably wasn't here. We had about 7 feet of snow or something like that. And it seemed like almost every other church here in the Capital District canceled except for us. Here's the thing. I can't cancel a Sunday morning. And the reason why is this is because the second I do that, I become known as the southern pastor that can't handle snowstorms in the north. So it's never going to happen. If I can get here at all, we're going to be here, even if there are only about 10 of us, which is about what happened. So glad that you guys are back today. And just to be clear, you didn't miss anything. I kind of did an abbreviated version of something, but we're going to do the full version of it today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We are in a series called Stop Going to Church. Stop Going to Church. And the whole idea behind this series isn't that I don't want you to be here. You took me a little too literally last Sunday, but it's not that I don't want you to be here. I want you to be here, but the whole idea is that the church was never meant to be a place that we go to. The church was never meant to be a place that we just go and sit and listen and observe and fake sing or whatever it is that we do. That was never the whole idea behind this thing. It was always meant to be something more. It was always meant to be something different. And so here's the thing. I want you to stop going to church because I believe the church was always meant to be a gathering, an assembly, a group of people with a single mission, a single focus, a single message. And the message is that Jesus was the Son of God. He died on the cross and he rose from the grave. And you guys know what the single mission is? To tell everybody in the world that that happened so that they could believe that that happened and they could become disciples of his as well. That's our whole mission. But somewhere along the way, what happened is church became a place that you go. And I kind of understand why we say go to church, right? We're just kind of saying, where do you go if you go? Where are you involved at? But the reality is that can be a really dangerous way of thinking if we're not careful because the church was never meant to be that. And so what I want you to do to start 2019, is I want us to commit to not going to just going to church because if we just go to church, we miss the best part about what it means to be the church. And I don't want that to be you. I don't want that to be us. And so what we're going to do over the next few weeks is we are going to look at what the earliest church did. Not exactly what they did, but some of the characteristics and some of the attributes that came along with them. And we are going to look and see at how those attributes, those characteristics can be true of us too. And so far we've talked about this idea of unconditional love. How we love people around us. How we love those who are different than us. And how we can do that in spite of maybe not having a preset set of conditions. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something different. But before we do that, let me read a little bit of scripture to you guys just to kind of give you insight into this church that we're going to be talking about. Acts chapter 2, if you have your Bible. It goes something like this. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts, and they broke bread in their homes and ate with glad and sincere hearts, and praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Now, this is kind of a snapshot, just a snapshot of what the early church did. And I want us to kind of put some of those characteristics and attributes on us. And today, what we're going to talk about, this is going to be a fun one. You guys ready for it? You know, I noticed the energy was a little low. Everybody say this with me. Obedient risk. Good job. Obedient risk. I'll just do the talking. You just said it there. That sounds like a good idea. Obedient risk. And here's the deal. That this phrase kind of has two compartments to it. The obedient part. You know what Jesus has called all of us? That means you, me, that means every single one of us in the room. You are not exempt from this. He has placed a mission on us to go and make disciples. Every single one of us. None of us are exempt from that. Look to the person beside you and just kind of say, no, you're not exempt. I'm just going to make you do things now because you have no energy. There we go. Good effort, everybody. No, you're not exempt. You're not exempt. Every single one of us has this opportunity and this unique calling to go and make disciples. Now, how we do that is different. But the risk part is what makes it special. And I want us to define this term, obedient risk, today. And here's how I want us to define it. I want us to define it like this. Obedient risk is stepping out of our comfort zone. What makes us comfortable, what makes life easy for us, stepping out of our comfort zone into the unknown, meaning we're not sure how this is going to completely turn out. It's not completely safe. I know that we are a people that loves guarantees on things, but we're going to step out of our comfort zone into the unknown for the purpose of making disciples. That's what it means to live a life of obedient risk. But honestly, we struggle with this. This is one of those things. It's kind of like we know, but we don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's one of those things that we in our heads we say we know, but we live as if we don't know. See, I was reading this really cool story this week. I love reading about like World War II and everything that surrounds World War II, a huge history guy when it comes to just that period of time. And I was reading this story about how when the Nazis, they had the concentration camps, and when the Allied forces came to the first concentration camp, they saw for the very first time these bodies and the graves, and they saw the horrific scenes that had taken place, and the soldiers got sick, and then General Patton showed up a short time later, and they showed him what was going on, and they said that he threw up on the spot when they saw what this happened. And many of us probably would have done the same thing. So they went to this neighboring town, this neighboring village, and they found the village leader, kind of what would be considered the mayor, and they asked him, they said, "Did you know what was happening just outside of your city?" And the mayor said, "No, we didn't know. We did not know what was happening here." They said, "We're going to put together a team. Everybody in town, we're going to dig proper graves for every single one of these bodies that we found." And they said, "We're going to start tomorrow." They got up the next morning and they found that the leader of the city and his wife had hanged themselves overnight. And they left a note that said, "We didn't know, but we knew. We didn't know, but we knew." And I think that sometimes when it comes to the mission of God that He has in our lives, placed on us, I think we operate under the exact same circumstances. It's like we want to get there and say, like, well, we didn't know that we were supposed to go and make disciples. We didn't know that we were supposed to live a life of risk. But at the same time, we know. We know, but yet some of us, most of us, don't do anything with this. We have such a hard time stepping out of our comfort zone into the unknown with the purpose of making disciples. Now, the early church, they were good at this. They did not struggle with this at all. There was a guy named Peter who on the very first day, he was one of Jesus' disciples, the most popular of Jesus' disciples. And on the very first day, he stood up in front of thousands of people. How many of you would say maybe your biggest fear is public speaking? A few of you. They say that on a whole, as a culture, that is the number one biggest fear in America. More so than dying. Public speaking. Yeah. But Peter, on this day, stood up in front of thousands of people and he delivered the first sermon. Now, do you think that was a risky move? Yes, it was an incredibly risky move. I'll answer for you. It was an incredibly risky move because what if he gets up there? This is in the same city that they just crucified Jesus in. This is right out. This is the same area. And he stands up. What if they're going to do this to him too? What if he stands up and it starts going south? And what if the other disciples look at him and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to abandon you just like we abandoned Jesus." This was a risky move. But Peter said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to step out of my comfort zone into the unknown, not sure exactly what's going to happen, for the purpose of making disciples." And do you know how many disciples were made just that day? 3,000. 3,000, because one man said, "I'm going to step out in obedient risk. I've already got the obedience part. I know my calling. It's to make disciples. I don't have to question that." But now, I've got to step out of my comfort zone into the unknown to make it happen. And then it goes on. The next day or a couple days later, what they do is Peter and his buddy John, who's another one of the disciples, they're walking to the temple. And they see this beggar laying on the ground outside of the temple gate. Somebody has to pick him up. He can't walk. Somebody has to pick him up every day, carry him to the gate, and lay him there, and he can beg for money. He can't go into the temple, but he can beg for money. Just imagine this. Imagine that you came to church here this morning, and there was someone who couldn't walk, laying outside on the sidewalk, begging for money, but we wouldn't allow them inside. I hope this wouldn't be your church very long if that was true. But that's exactly what's happening. And the last thing the religious leaders wanted to happen in this moment, the last thing they wanted to happen in this moment was for Jesus to get involved. Jesus has been dead for a while now. The last thing they want is for Jesus to get involved. But these two guys, they walk up to him. And they say, he starts to ask for money like he does for everybody. And they say, we don't have any money, which he's probably used to hearing. But they say, what we do have, we give you. In the name of Jesus, stand up and walk. Now, do you think this was a risky move for Peter and John? Oh, yeah. Very risky move. Because, number one, the religious leaders, they didn't want this to happen. They had already arrested him. They had already arrested Jesus for this kind of stuff. They had already threatened for this kind of stuff. If they do this, man, it could mean their lives. They could at the very least spend some time in jail, and they eventually did. And another risk about this is, what if it didn't work? Right? What if they're just yelling at a quadriplegic guy to get up and walk in front of everybody? It would be humiliating. This is a huge risk for them. And then they go on, and the next day they get arrested for this by the temple guard, which I've told you before is kind of like a mall cop, kind of unofficial cop. But they get arrested, and they get taken to jail. They spend the night in jail. Then they go before the religious council, and the religious council tells them, stop talking about Jesus. Stop saying it. And they said, we're grown men. We're going to do what we want, and we have to talk about Jesus. That's it. Do you think that was a risky move? Yes, it was a risky move. And you could go step by step through the entire rest of the book of Acts, the 5th book of the New Testament, and you could see risk after risk after risk. Matter of fact, there was a guy named Paul. His entire life was a risk, one after the other. And I think they learned this idea of obedient risk from Jesus, because one day Jesus started talking to them, and he told them this story about this master who had 3 servants. To one he gave 5 talents, and a talent isn't like, playing the piano or juggling or anything like that. A talent was like a unit of money, a large unit of money, a lot of money. Matter of fact, some translations translate this bag of gold. He gave them each different amounts or different bags of gold. To one he gave 5 bags of gold. To one he gave 2 bags of gold. To one he gave one bag of gold. Then he went on his way. When he came back, the one that had 5 had doubled it to 10. He had risked his money and made it more. And the one that had 2 risked his money and he made more. He now had 4. But the one that had 1 buried it in the ground. And when the master came back, he said, what have you done? You know what he told him? He said, you are a wicked and lazy servant. Not because you did anything crazy wrong. You didn't go out and spend this on drugs or anything like that. It's because you refused to risk what you had. There's a famous author and Christian leader named John Piper who wrote a book about this subject. And I love what he says about this. He comes straight out to the point. He says this: the Christian life is a call to what? Risk. You either live with risk or you waste your life. I was expecting a big dramatic from everybody in the room. You live with risk, stepping out of your comfort zone into the unknown for the purpose of making disciples, or you have wasted your life, period. There's no in between. From the very beginning of Christianity, this was right in the DNA. This was in the earliest fabric. You either live with risk. You've got your calling. You've got what you're supposed to be obedient to. You're supposed to make disciples, every single one of you. Am I talking to you? Yes, every single one of us. And you're supposed to risk what you have to do that. We can end there, but I'm not going to. There's a story in the Old Testament that I think teaches us a really, really valuable lesson on how to actually go about doing this. If you have your Bible, 2 Samuel is where we're going to be in just a minute. But before we get there, let me tell you a story to kind of set this up. When I was a kid, you're not going to believe this, but I wasn't the most athletic kid around. I know you're looking at me now, it's shocking, but I was on a baseball team one year in the Chickamauga Recreational League. You would think the competition wouldn't be that fierce, right? And I was the third string catcher. Third string catcher. Guess how many catchers were on the team? Three. That's right. Third string catcher. There was one game, the other team actually agreed to allow me to be the second catcher in the game. Meaning that if the first catcher listed, I was behind it to catch it, just so they could get me in the game. That's how good I was at baseball. And then one year I played basketball, and I was the third string point guard on the team. Guess how many point guards were on the team? Three. You guys are catching on. Yeah. And then one year I played football, and I was the fifth string wide receiver. Guess how many wide receivers were on the team? Five. You can always tell how many of a particular position were on a team based on what slot I was in. That seemed to be my goal, right? You can easily pick out who the worst at a position was when you're doing this. Now, David, who is the king of Israel, this is later on in his life. Matter of fact, this is at the end of his life. The title of this chapter is The Last Words of King David, the final words of David. And he's recounting. He's thinking back about all these memories in his life. And he's thinking about all the good things that happened. I'm sure he's thinking about the time that he was a shepherd out in the fields watching all these sheep. And then somebody came and got him, and he got back to his house, and he was anointed to be king of Israel. That's a pretty good day, right? And then he was probably thinking about the time that he took his brothers like a care package to the front lines. And there's this giant named Goliath there. And he faces him down when nobody else faced him down. That was probably a good memory for David to have, right? Probably didn't bring up the whole Bathsheba thing, left that one alone. But then he's recounting this story about what they call his mighty men. His mighty men, and there were 30 of them at the time. There were 37 total, but there were 30 of them at the time that he's thinking about this. Now, David was the leader of thousands and thousands of soldiers. Thousands upon 10,000s, hundreds of thousands. How did you pick? It was easy to see that I was the fifth string wide receiver, but how did you pick the 30 best, the 30 mightiest warriors out of hundreds of thousands? How did you get to that place? And then what David is going to do in this story is he's going to actually count the three. How many? The three that were the mightiest of those 30. How do you pick out 30 of the best out of hundreds of thousands and then narrow it down to three after that? Well, I'm going to show you in this story. Check this out. 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 13, and then we're going to get some principles about risk. During harvest time, 3 of the 30 chief warriors, there are 3, came down to David at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. At that time, David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would give me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 mighty warriors broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate at Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. "Far be it from me, Lord, to do this," he said. "It is not the blood of men who went at the risk of their lives." And David would not drink it. And such were the exploits of the 3 mighty warriors. So let me just kind of recap what happened here, and then I'm going to give you some risk principles in our lives to help us become more obedient risk takers. So what we see here is that David's army is losing to the Philistines. The Philistines have went as far as at least Bethlehem. That is where the Philistines are. Bethlehem is a part of Israel. That is where David is from. And now what we see is that they have taken this area, and David is now in his stronghold, which means that they are expecting another attack, and they are putting the king in the stronghold. Guess how many of those 30 men went down to see David in that place? We just read it. This is like doing homework with my 6-year-old. Three. They went down to see him. And you know what we learn about David in this moment? He begins longing for something. And occasionally what will happen at our house is my wife will look at me and be like, "Hey, don't you want some glazed pizza?" And of course you don't have to talk me into this, right? Wouldn't it be great to have Five Guys right now? Or wouldn't it be great to have some Chipotle? Or maybe some frozen yogurt? Or all of it? And of course, it doesn't take much convincing for me. I'm like, yeah, that would be great. That does sound good right now. I know we just ate breakfast, but let's do this, you know? And she'll be like, yeah, but I don't want to get out and go get it, so I guess we won't have it. Now, what do you think's really happening here?
That same thing happens at my house.
Yeah, same thing happens at every house. And here's what you're supposed to do. You know, at that moment, what she's saying is, I want you to go get it for me. I don't care what you get, but I want you to go get it for me. And husbands, what you're supposed to do is also pick up a bonus packet of peanut butter M&Ms on the way home. That's the way this works. But you go get it. Now, David is in a very similar moment with his three mighty warriors. He's standing there and he says, you know what I really want? I want water. And the guys are probably like, well, there's a bucket right over here. No, I want water from the well at Bethlehem. You know what we learn about David in this moment? He is the world's first ever water snob. Right here, the original water snob, the first one. And we learn that he doesn't just want water. He wants water from a very specific place. Now, you guys know what water snobs are, right? People that can only drink, like, I have to have Evian water. I have to have Voss water. Don't give me Dasani. Are you trying to poison me? Right? Aquafina is for the poor. I would never drink it. I have to have Fiji because it is made from the tears of unicorns. And listen, I actually went out last week and bought a Fiji thing of water because I was looking online, and in 2018, according to the National Water Tasting Competition, that is a thing, and if that's not the biggest indictment on our culture, I don't know what is. This was the #1 artesian water in the entire world in 2018, Fiji. Yeah, and I drank it, half of it. And to me, it tastes like water. I don't know. But David says, I need Fiji water. And they're probably thinking to themselves, you know what? I want some bacon cheese fries and a meat lover's pizza. But David, it's not going to happen right now. Because they're over there and we're over here. But what David was really longing for was a taste of home. That's where he's from. And he's relishing the thought that they've taken my home. I can't defend our nation. And it would just do me some good to have a taste of water from my house. And so these three guys hearing this, they're like, well, sorry, David, we can't do it, right? No. They heard this, and they said, fine. We're going to go get you the water. Not just the water from the bucket in the room that you already have, but we're going to go get you the Fiji water that you want. And they broke through the lines. And could you imagine being one of the Philistine soldiers in this moment? Could you imagine what they're thinking? 3 soldiers. They sent just 3 of them to break through our lines. Remember the Philistines. Those are the armies that Goliath came from. So just imagine an army of giants here. That they sent just 3 soldiers. They're trying to be stealth here. They must just be going for our king. Everybody go protect the king. And so they send hundreds of soldiers. And they stand there with their shields. And they're just surrounded the king. And nothing ever happens. We got it wrong. They're not going for the king. They must be going for the treasury. Everybody go and guard the gold and the silver. And they get hundreds of soldiers and they gather around the treasury and they're just waiting. And nothing happens. They're going for our food supply. Everybody go and guard the food supply. Whatever the food supply would have been. Go and guard it. And they're there. Nothing happens. And then finally somebody says, all right, guys, it's over. No more room to panic. Well, what did they do? They went to the well. Did they poison it? No. They just got some water. They got some water. Yeah, they just got a bucket of water. Then they left. I think the reason the Philistines lost this war is because they were confused. Israel's weird. Let's just go home. They went to Bethlehem. They fought their way through a line of Philistine soldiers. They went and they got water from Bethlehem. They fought their way out. They took it to David, their king, the one who just mentioned that he wanted some water. And then David, being the gracious king he is, poured it out. We won't talk about that part. Let's just talk about what they did. Because they did something spectacular. They put together a risk, an obedient risk. And they put some principles forward that I think will help us to become obedient risk takers. You guys ready for them? Number 1 is this. They just showed up. What separated them from the 30? The other 27 were sleeping in their tent. They showed up. You know what doesn't take a lot of talent in life? To show up and make yourself available. It just doesn't. To show up early and say, I'm here to do whatever needs to be done. To show up and say, where's their need? Where can I help? Where can I serve? Where can I love people the best? You know what doesn't take a lot of effort in life? To just show up. I believe that God has placed some of you, planted some of you right where you are, in your job, in your neighborhood, in your family, and He's just waiting on you to show up. He's just waiting on you to say, I'm available to make disciples right where I'm at my job. I'm just waiting for you to step out of your comfort zone into what makes life easiest for you. I'm just waiting for you to step into the unknown. I mean, I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. And I'm just waiting on you to make yourself available. All they did was they showed up. They showed up. Number two, I love this. They didn't wait for permission. It wasn't like David was like, all right, let me put together a committee to see if we can get you guys behind enemy lines to give you the water. They just went for it. One time my kids overheard me talking to somebody about how I was going to do something, and I said, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. You've heard that phrase? Well, they thought that meant it was okay to go jump on the trampoline in an ice storm. And they said, well, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, right, Dad? I think you missed it. But man, these guys, you know what drives me crazy about our Christian culture, our church culture, is that people are like, well, I'm just not sure that's my calling. I'm just not sure that I'm called to work with the kids. I'm just not sure I'm called to work with students. I'm just not sure I'm called to go on a short-term mission trip. Listen to me. Your calling is to make disciples. And I think we use as an excuse far too often, I just don't feel called. When the reality is God has already pushed us and said, I just want you to do something. And you can say, well, I don't like kids. That's okay. I don't like kids either. But we need people like us working with kids. Right? You can say, I'm not sure that I can keep up with the students. That's okay. I think the students get a kick out of seeing old people struggle. I really do. And I think that they would look excited to see you struggle. So here's the thing. You don't have to wait on permission to make disciples. You don't have to wait on permission to take a risk. Just go take it. And number three, they did something unexpected. We get into the same routine. I go to church, I go to work, I go home over and over and over again. And we lose sight of, what if you changed your routine and just said, you know what? I'm going to be intentional and go out of my way to make disciples. Here's what I believe is to be true of all of you. If you will step up to take obedient risk in your life, meaning you know what your calling is, to make disciples, and if you step out of your comfort zone into the unknown with the purpose of doing just that, I believe. See, here's the thing. The Christian life was never meant to be boring. It was never meant to just be a place that you just go to church. It was always meant to be something more. And I don't want you to miss it. And here's what I know is going to be true. If you do this, if you commit to this, it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be a spectacular triumphant moment, or it's going to be a spectacular failure. But if it is, that's okay. You get up and try again. That's what risk is all about. So I want to challenge you and encourage you. Don't be people who just go to church and you miss out on what it means to be a real follower of Jesus, to be the church. Because as the church, we are called to take obedient risk. Let's pray together. Father, thank you so much for your word and for everything that you do for us. God, and I just pray that in the moments that we have together, that you would impress this upon us. That you would make this real. That you would show us what our calling is. In Jesus' name. Amen. All right, ushers are going to come forward at this time. For the second time. Usher is going to come forward at this time. Not the usher, but some of you will get that later.